Hello, in this game I'm going to show you how to reset your game. And if you have a simple game and there's only one or two places where the player dies, you probably already know how to handle that. And that would be something like an instant death room, where if the player's in a room, we print the player has died and then we reset the game. But what if you have 5 instant death rooms, or what if there's 20 ways for the player to die? Do you really want to have the code to reset the game in 20 different places? The correct answer is no. Your code will be much cleaner and easier to debug and easier to manage, and your game will be smaller if you put all that code in one place. And that's what I'm going to show you how to do now. So notice that in our game here, which is very simple, and it's not even a game, it's just a demo, we start here in the parking lot. There's a security checkpoint, and if we don't have the ID card, the guard will shoot us. And there's a restricted area here. If we go there, we get run over by a tank. This is don't worry about the plot. This is just an example of a game where the player can die in more than one place. That's the entire purpose of this demo, is to show you how to handle this. Now, let's go look at our events. The events are the rules that are checking to see is the player in the room where the player would get killed, or is the player at the checkpoint and they have the ID or don't have the ID. So here's the one for the players at the security checkpoint. If the player doesn't have the badge, the guard opens fire and shoots us. If we do have the badge, then the guard prints out the guard, sees we have the clearance, and waves us through. So, and then we have that other room where if we're just there at all, we get killed, right? So notice that there are 2 ways to die here, and we could go in here after we print out we've died. We could reset the game here. But what if the game were big and that was lots of code? This is where you want to put every object back in its starting room, close anything that was originally closed, open anything that was originally opened, set all the descriptions back to their original descriptions if you changed them, right? You need to put the game back in the exact state that it was when the game started. If the game is big, this is extremely tedious, and you don't want to have to do that more than once. So here's the way to do that. You make a function to do it for you, right? So functions are places to consolidate code. So let's make a function called reset game and put in some code here. We'll put the player back in the parking lot. We'll put the ID card back in the ID badge .holder equals parking lot. That goes back in the parking lot. What if the player had taken that USB disk? USB disk .holder equals lab, right? And I think that was pretty much everything in the game. And then when you're done, you want to call the look command. That will print out the room description that tells the player where they are, and it will alert them to the fact that they're now in a new location and the game has restarted. So notice we have a function here called reset game. It puts everything back in its pristine condition. Now, how do we use this code? We've got this reset game function. We're not going to use it in a sentence. We're going to call it from our events. So after we kill the player, after we print you've died, we'll call our function. Calling a function means jumping to it, running all the code in it, and then jumping back. So to do that, we just use the name of the function, an open parenthesis, a closed parenthesis, and a semicolon, right? That means call or jump to the reset game function, and then the parentheses mean don't supply it any arguments. This is an empty list of inputs for this function. You can see the print line function, it does have something between the parentheses. It takes the text to print. That's the input to that function. Reset game does not take any inputs. And that's it, right? So what this means is print you've died, jump to the reset game function, run that code, and run back. And let's do that for our instant kill. We'll say reset game here. So notice we have one function that's resetting our game. If our game changes, we don't have to change the thing 5 times. We just go into that one function and change it, right? So we have 2 events that are sharing the code in a function. That is one of the beauties of functions, right? They're places to put code that you're going to share or use multiple times or for multiple places. So now if I run this, right, launch player, and of course I'm running in my debugger because I'm always debugging. There we go. There's an ID badge here. So let's take the badge. Oh, I didn't make it portable. Oh, all right. Well, just it doesn't matter. Okay, so let's go down to the South, we're standing at the west of the main lab, right? So now we're down here. And if we go south, we should be killed. So let's do that and just see if it works. Upon entering the restricted area, you are immediately run over by a tank. You have died. Parking lot. This is a large parking lot to the south. A short road leads to the lab entrance. There's an ID badge here. So notice that our event that killed the player called our function to reset the game. And so we had one of our events call code that was in a function. And then let's just test out the guard kill function. And let's, before I do that though, let me go set that ID badge, make it a portable object. And I'll give it an initial description. An ID badge. An ID badge dropped by an employee lies on the ground. All right, there we go. And I should probably put it in the description, but again, this is just a demo, right? It's not a real game, but you could certainly turn this into a game. Okay, take badge, taken. Okay, so now let's go south, let's go east, and if I go east, as the guard sees you have the proper ID and waves you through, right? Because we have the ID, right? But now let's go west, and let's drop the ID. And now if we go into the lobby, see the guard shoots us because we don't have the ID. And then look, parking lot. This is a large parking lot to the south. There's the lab entrance. An ID badge dropped by an employee lies on the ground, right? So, so the game was reset. We were killed in two places, but each event that checked to see if we were dead, each event that killed us, called that function, that shared code that reset the game. So I would highly recommend that if your game kills the player in more than one location, that you create a function called reset game that looks something like this, where you reset your game to its initial state, and then call that code, which means jump to it and run it, from the events or other functions that actually kill that player. And that will make your code cleaner and much easier to manage. So if you have any questions about how to get that to work, just ask.